Nigeria's Naira hit a new record low of 999 Naira per dollar on the official market on Thursday, in line with weakness on the parallel market as dollar shortages continue to put pressure on the currency. The Naira has been on a free fall on the official and unofficial market, where it trades freely, which worsened after currency restrictions were lifted on the official market in June. On Tuesday, it slumped to 1,100 Naira to the dollar on the parallel market and 980 Naira to a dollar on the official market, according to Refinitiv details. And so this morning, joining me is Muktar Mohammed, CEO Asheer Dynamic Solutions, and he joins me from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much, Muktar, for talking to us once again on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Now, at the parallel market on Thursday, $1 was quoted at 1,155 Naira, the lowest ever on the black market. Now, in some parts of Abuja, the dollar traded at the rate of 1,150 Naira. And of course, in some other parts of Lagos, some of the traders sold at 1,155 Naira. Of course, other areas to 1,120 Naira to a dollar. So we see these disparities depending on locations. So this implies that in less than 12 hours, the Naira depreciated by 5%, thereabout, talking about 55 Naira. How much lower do you think the Naira is set to go if nothing is done to actually abate the free fall?
Well, unfortunately, nothing has been done. All we've seen is word without actions. We saw the Naira, especially the parallel market, but in the official market, I think everything seems to be moving on well. We're not surprised where we are now. Remember, the CBN said they've lifted the ban on the 43 ban item. And I said, if you lift the ban on those items and then you are not providing liquidity for those items, this is what we will get, because those who want that item will still find their way back into the parallel market, and the parallel market will not be able to meet their demands. So that's what is happening at the moment. How bad can it go? I think a man that is down, fear no fall any longer. We've seen it move to where it is now. But again, we must be also economically say that the Naira as it stands is very, very undervalued. He has no reason to be selling at what he's selling, and the speculators are still having a field day in the market because the monetary policy have not been able to come up with a joker that will drive the price down, and that joker have to come, and it has to come very soon. Otherwise, it could be one of the worst. It's already the worst performing currency in the world, but it could get worse to become the worst forming currency in the world.
Well, just as you have said, it's quite fair on the official markets. And even we saw data from the FMDQ showing that the Naira closed stronger than the dollar, gaining about 1.01%, as the dollar was quoted at 782 Naira 68 kobo on Thursday, compared to what obtained on Wednesday, which is about 790 Naira 68 kobo. Now, what I want to understand is there a possibility that that might have a bit of, or we might have a bit of appreciation on the value of the Naira, so as we're seeing a little bit of appreciation on the official market? Do you think some prevailing market dynamics might come to play and we might just see a gradual rise?
Well, the only dynamics that can play that we'll see gradual rise is if liquidity is pumped into that space. You know that the bureau de change are also not entitled to collect FX from the central bank. The central bank say they work with stakeholders. We don't know whether the bureau de change are part of their stakeholders. So as long as liquidity is not flowing to that place, and then the banking space to the financial institution, the deposit banks, if liquidity is not going onto that space also for people to pay for PTA, then for school fees, definitely that will still put pressure on the parallel market. So what can make a parallel market gain is to create a source that will bring in liquidity into that space. Though you could say that the parallel market is not really the template to determine the exchange rate of the Naira, but the way it is now, it is something that we've allowed to linger too long. And so we are beginning to see the effect of it. So again, you remember, like I keep saying, those that normally access the parallel market after this parallel market was CBN stopped supplying FX to that market, they didn't create a window for them to also begin to assess FX. So that becomes a major challenge. So the demand and supply economic principle came to work in that space, and that's why we have seen the Naira really receive a pattern in that space. So until there is liquidity in that space, and until there's competition that will take those that used to patronize that space into the official market and get it at the rate you get in the official market, then you will see those numbers go down in the parallel market. But as long as the parallel market seems to remain the seamless and easiest means of getting FX, it will continue to rise up.
So that now brings me to the question, how do you now think the Central Bank of Nigeria should look for sources by which to ensure that there's liquidity, ensure that there is access to Forex for those who need it for their businesses? How do you think the central, because the notion now is that the Central Bank of Nigeria has actually lost control of how to deal with these Naira fall. So what ways are you going to prefer to the Central Bank of Nigeria to say, if you look at these areas, this is how you can make sure that there's enough Forex for those in need?
Number one, I don't want to believe that the central bank have lost control of it. I think we have a new governor. He just came in. I'm sure he's studying the situation and he's looking at what is on ground. How make sure that he doesn't just give a pronouncement and then the next day again he's bringing another pronouncement. I think he has said what he has to say. The first pronouncement he has made is the unbanning of 43 item. He said they can get FX. What are they supposed to do? You've said that the central bank will intervene in that space. We are waiting and watching how they want to intervene. Now, how can they drive down? How can they fight these speculators? How can they bring down the exchange rate, the parallel market? You need to pay off some of the institutions that you are owning, especially the aviation sector. You need to pay them off. You need to pay backlog that you have of foreign or direct investors, foreign or direct portfolio investors. Also, some of them, their money are trapped here. So generally, you need to just create a liquidity in the system. If I'm in the CBN government, I will begin to think of how I can partner with the banks. The bank have FX offshore. Can you bring this FX into the country? We need it, and you create under Bureau de change that also have FX. So there's a lot of things the CBN can do, and also oil price has improved. There's a loan that is coming in from for about $3 billion from African Bank in Egypt, which the NNPC is collecting to give to CBN to be able to stabilize the currency. Also, this money we've known that IMF is also giving us about 80 million. $1.5 billion is coming from the IMF. African Development Bank is looking at $80 million. So all this compose liquidity in the system. So what we definitely are battling with is the lack of liquidity. And so anything that will bring liquidity into the system is what I think the CBN should do.
And earlier on, you said that whether or not the government lifts the restriction on the 43 items that were previously banned or restricted, if there's no liquidity in circulation, then, I mean, that particular directive is futile. And some economists have come out to say that that policy should be reversed, at least for now. And they should focus on what you have just mentioned, the provision of liquidity and, of course, the access to Forex. So do you also think that for now, at least, that restriction should still be in place?
Well, it depends, because why that restriction have to go is because when you look at these 43 banned items, realize that they are items that are like everyday items. And most Nigerians tilt towards it because of the locals have not been able to meet up demand. You give an example of rice. Now, if I give an example of rice, Nigerian local rice have not been able to spread to get to the end users on time. And even when they do, the prices are so high. Now, I think the world is a global village. You cannot lock up your economy like what people say, oh, China did it. China did it in the 70s. You can't do that now. Now, as it is, now you have to open up your economy. Every business, you need to be a global player. And if you begin to put restrictions on items that could come into your country, I think that is a challenge. So for me, what the CBN would have done, they have unbanned the 43 items, because again, these 43 items, the way the CBN is looking at it, is not just looking at it because of its FX policy to help bring that stability in the FX market, but to also drive down inflation. Because if these 43 banned items are able to access FX in the official market, that means the cost of importation of these goods will go down, and that in turn will drive down inflation. So they are using a double-edged sword to see how they could drive down inflation and create stability. Now, in the creation of stability, that is where the challenge is in terms of liquidity. Now, will they be able to gain that liquidity? The good news is that oil price is going up. Well, then the good news is that we have been able to up our production. That means we'll earn more FX in the system. And so we are borrowing, like I say, 1.5 billion, 80 million, all this will add to FX liquidity in the system. So how much they are able to add, attract this liquidity is the key. Now, the other source that liquidity will come from seems not to be available now because of the gap. That is the foreign direct investors, the portfolio investors, Nigeria in the diaspora. So if you create stability in the FX market, then the price difference between the parallel and the FX is bridged. Then Nigeria in the diaspora would rather send the money through the bank for their relative to pick than sending it through one app that will not end up bringing liquidity of FX into the Nigeria economy. Rather, they will still drop in the Naira there. So I don't envy the CBN as it stands now. But I think the main reason behind the banning of the 43 items is not just because of FX, it's also going to serve as a tool to drive down inflation, especially when you look at some of these items that were banned before.
All right, now we understand that the policies that everybody is yearning for is actually aimed at those that would attract foreign investors and close the gap, just as you have said, between the parallel and the official window. Now, this is quite concerning, I must say. But then I'd like to find out, do you think that investors will be willing to come into a volatile market as Nigeria, looking at the fact that the CBN has not been able to profile policies that will deal with the issue of forex availability, liquidity, and the policies that have been in place have not really done anything good for the Nigerian currency, with a market that is fluctuating and is weak at some point. Of course, with South Africa being said to take over, of course, the market economic space. So what do you think that investors will be looking at now, looking at Nigeria's market vis-a-vis the economy?
Well, it depends on where you are and what type of gain that you are thinking of making. If you create stability in the system and the Naira is changing for 1,000 and something, and then you are able to come in, you exchange your dollar at 1,000 and something, then you are able to get invest in some of the things that you need to invest in, and then you are going to go out at about 800 and something. I think every investor would like that. But what the investors are scared about is coming in at about 1,000 and something, and you are not sure whether you exit at 1,000 and something. You could go higher than that. So no investors will come in. Like you said, you need to create that stability. And again, in creating that stability also, you must also be conscious of the liquidity side of it. So basically, I think we shouldn't worry ourselves with what is happening in South Africa. South Africa is not a monotonous economy like ours. They have other. We should be dealing with what is happening right in here. And what is happening now, we need stability in FS. We need to attract those FS. Does it mean the CBN can go and borrow? If that's what they need to do to safeguard the economy or to safeguard the Naira, they need to do it, and they need to do it very, very fast.